Hey everyone, I am Michael Palermiti. I am the Group Program Manager for Outlook for iOS, and I am privileged here to be standing here to represent the work of truly several teams, several people. This was truly a one Microsoft effort to bring Play My Emails to Outlook for iOS. One of the things that drove the team through the course of the product development cycle was this premise of giving people time back. After all, it's the most valuable resource we all have. And one of the things that we focus on every day when we're designing product is helping you save time, but we wanted to up the ante. We wanted to give you time back. And what do I mean by that? I mean, in the morning when I'm getting ready to go to work and my kids are at home, I'd like to spend a few more minutes with them, and I can. But I can also show up to the office feeling less stress, and I feel ready to take the day on because of this feature. At the end of the day, because email doesn't stop. At the end of the day, as emails keep filling my inbox, and I have this anxiety that I want to continue to get through my to-do list, my inbox, I can leave a little bit early because I know that there's a new way to manage my inbox on my commute home, for example. Or if I want to get home, if I want to get to the gym, I now have some time back to manage my inbox while I'm doing other things. And that was one of the core values that really all the time we kept reminding each other about how are we bringing time back to users. So as we design Outlook for iOS and Android, we obsess over the details. We take craftsmanship super, super seriously. And I hope you feel that when you use the product. But what about those times you don't see the screen? What about those times you're not able to touch the screen? That was the genesis of this project. How can we design an experience for the unseen moments in your life? Your phone is with you all the time, but it doesn't mean you see your phone. It doesn't mean you touch your phone. But we started with one group who does this every day, and those are people with visual impairments. They have very specific and unique tools. They have an ability that I don't possess to be able to audibly distill information, to navigate the products we use every day. And so we spent a lot of time learning from them, and that really has upped our inclusive design game. But we didn't stop there. We also spent a lot of time with people without impairments. We brought people in that we sat down and we gave them simple puzzles, like simple puzzles to literally with their hands and think about. And meanwhile, a researcher would actually read them information, snippets of information or pieces from their inbox. And we would gauge and measure, and we did many, many of these, and we would gauge and measure how much information at the end of that session did that person retain? How much did they hear? How much were they able to repeat back? Whether you have an impairment or not, designing for the human cognition is the same. So one of the first voice principles that emerged, and this is, again, out of years of research, is less is more. That means paring away the nice to knows and getting to the things that you need to know. But that might be a conflict with the next voice principle, humanizing voice. When we talk in conversation. We don't talk like robots. Take, for example, if I say the weather, a machine or a robot might say 85 degrees, clouds. But that's not what we say. We say it's 85 degrees with clouds. And so there's a balance, and there's a really nice balance and attention there in terms of the design of the voice experience to be efficient, but also conversational. Now that extends to the visual UI. And so the learnings we learned from our voice design research applied to the visual component of the feature. Now on the left, the screen is showing the default mail experience in Outlook Mobile, which is there's a lot of context. There's a lot of visual information there because when you have an attentive state and you're looking at the screen, we can provide a lot of content to you. And we are, as humans, we are very quick to visualize and cognitively understand that information. However, when you are in a distracted state, like for example this morning when I was on the elliptical and I was trying not to hurt myself and fall off, but I wanted to catch up on my mail, but I still have my eyesight so I can glance at the experience. And so that principle about paring down the experience to paring away the nice to knows and emphasizing the need to knows is what the second, third, and fourth screeners are showing, and I'll demo that in a minute. So it's kind of an interesting research epiphany of us when we were doing the voice design research and the voice design of the product. A lot of that also applied to the visual design. And that's one of the keys to this feature, which is this really seamless multimodal experience between the screen and what you hear and what you say, and you can interact real time with both. So that's a little bit of the background of the feature. And now let's go forward and start to look at some of the essence of the experience and the feature the feature as it is today. But first, like anything, when you do something, you have to build it on trust. In a world that is powered by AI, we take this very seriously. And in fact, a wise man once said, businesses and users are only going to embrace technology if they can trust it. That's true of any type of technology, and especially true when we're talking about personal information and other things that are on your phone. And so that's why I'm pleased to say that this Cortana capability that's built into Outlook for iOS is the first that's built into the O365 cloud and part of the core service terms. It is compliant by default. There is nothing you have to do. The next is about the experience and delight. It's a delightful and simple experience. And I want to make sure that when you use the product, when you use the feature, I hope you feel that it feels like it's part of Outlook, because it is. This is not a separate app you have to download. This is not something you have to go configure. This is the Cortana team and the Outlook team working seamlessly together to bring a cohesive product that is seamlessly woven into the fabric of the product. Other elements, because we are built on a device that happens to know when you're connected to Bluetooth devices, like your headphones or like your car, or you've plugged in a device. We have those signals, and so when you are plugged in or connected and you have Outlook open, we will prompt, do you want to play this to that device? And so I play this, I play my emails all the time to my car on the way to and from work. I already mentioned it, but the experience, the glanceability of it, so large avatars. Again, email is personal, communications is personal, so one of the biggest things on the screen when you're in this experience is the people who are sending you that. So again, at a glance, you can see right away who sent you that mail. The most common triage actions that you do in the product, so things like your swipe actions that you do in the normal experience transcend to this experience, and those are the prominent triage actions that you have here. And then, just like we design everything in Outlook Mobile, we take advantage of what the platform provides us. And so on iOS, there's this other assistant named Siri that they provide things like Siri shortcuts. And so when the phone is literally sitting at a black screen, I can ask Siri, read my emails. And Siri will launch our app into this experience completely hands-free. So I spoke a little bit about the genesis of the conversational voice design. And that was all great research, but you need something to bring it to life. And one of the most exciting aspects of this is the speech experience that was produced and designed using a deep neural network text-to-speech experience. It synthetically puts the speech together. And so it no longer sounds like a bunch of words kind of smashed together. And so when you hear the demo, you'll hear there's just fluidity to the experience. And even you'll hear some of the stress in the voice. That makes it a more human conversational experience beyond just some of the principles that I talked about. I'm also really pleased about this next one, which is we introduced another voice option, a masculine voice option. Assistants are everyone and for everyone. And so you now have an option to customize it and personalize it to your liking. Now you can't be a voice experience without also having a voice-in capability. And so you can absolutely dictate and reply to mails, but you can also command the experience. And then because this is built on top of our graph and has a really semantic understanding of the content, Cortana understands what type of content you have in your inbox, and you'll be able to understand as you listen to it. You'll be able to make decisions based on that understanding, and I'll get to this in a demo in a second. And then finally, The unique experience details, I like to call these like the little pieces of ingredients to the recipe. This takes it from a 4-star experience to, in my opinion, to a 5-star experience. And so, one of the core premises that we got from that cognitive research that I mentioned, when someone was doing a puzzle and then we would read them information, one of the things we learned was you have to kind of warm people up. This is similar to like a podcast. When you start a podcast doesn't immediately go right into the meat of the story or the interview. No, the podcaster generally sets it up, maybe it does an introduction, gives you a little bit of summary of what you're going to hear in the next couple minutes. And that's what we learned. And so when you launch this experience, it doesn't just go right into your mail, it will warm you up, and I'll show you a little bit about that. Again, because it leverages a graph, it understands the people. And so it knows who my manager is. So when I receive a mail, it doesn't have to say that person's name, it can just say your manager because I know who that is. That's something like a real human. If a real human was reading your mail and knew who I was and knew my graph, those are the kind of things that they would say. Threaded conversations. Now, I've been working on mail for a while, and threaded conversations are a hard thing for a mail product to successfully present and work with. And so to take that to a voice experience was a pretty tall feat, and I'm really excited about the support that we landed with this feature. And I've got an example of that as well. And then finally, at the end of the experience, when you've completed going through your day's worth of mail, Cortana will stay there and stick around and let you know if new mail comes in, if you choose to stay in the experience. All right. How many people want to see a demo? And hear a demo? All right, Now, the setup here is, I have to use a microphone on the phone, so bear with me a little bit. Okay, so, am I still on? Oh, good, okay. So, because this is a demo and there's a lot of nuances in here, I'm gonna try my best not to fragment it too much, but I'm gonna pause it at times to point out things because I guarantee there'll be things you won't pick up because there's such a natural aspect to this experience. Now, the other thing I mentioned, when you are connected to an audio device, which this is not, you will get a bar in the experience by default that you can just tap and jump right into the experience. But otherwise, you can always get to the feature because a phone also has speakers, right? And so even if you're not connected, you can still use the feature. And you can get to it by swiping from the left side of the screen, bringing up our sidebar, or you can tap the avatar at the top left. And in the bottom left, you see a little the play icon. That is your always present entry point to get to the feature. So I'm gonna go ahead and start it. It's gonna start with the summary, and then after that, I'm gonna pause.
You've got 8 emails right now, including a change to your day. This'll take about 5 minutes.
All right, so I've got 8 emails. It's gonna take about 5 minutes. And I've got to change to my day. So before we've jumped into the really good stuff, the actual content, I'm kind of warmed up. I'm like, okay, it's gonna take about 5 minutes. Got 8 emails, and I've got to change to my day. Oh, that's interesting. Let's go to that.
Business development changed the time for sales pipeline review from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., as well as making it an online meeting. Heads up, you also have 2 other meetings at the same time.
And so, that meeting moved. It was made to a Teams meeting, so that's good context. And I've got conflicts. Now, the interesting thing that you can't see right now, but that meeting update is actually farther down in my inbox. But we elevated that because that is an essential part of your day. That helps you imagine I'm on my way to the office, I'm on the train, or I'm in a car, however I'm getting to the office. That's an important aspect that helps me determine and plan my day. Now, you might be asking, well, how can you act on the calendar invites? Don't worry, we're working on that. That's coming soon. Okay, now I'm going to move to a normal email. So Cameron here has got some important information for us. Let's give it a listen.
A few hours ago, Cameron White sent an email about coffee prep workflow to one group. It says, "Team, bad coffee is just not acceptable." Grinning face. If making coffee is not one of your skills, please check out this flowchart when it's your turn to make a pot. Your barista-in-chief, Cam. There was an attachment as well.
So a couple things. So Cameron had some important information for the coffee makers in the office. He included a flow chart, which would be hard to narrate. So that is something I can look at when I'm back, when I'm either looking at my phone or I'm back at a large screen. He also put in emoji. We read emojis out, by the way. So he had a smiley face. So you can have some fun if you know people are going to be listening to their mails. You can have fun with emojis. There are some nice emojis that will make people chuckle. You'll also notice in between each of these transitions, there's an ear con, a little like whoop, like that again. When you're not looking at the screen or you're just listening, those are those wave-finding moments in the experience that help you know that you've come to the end and there's an opportunity to act on it. You might have also noticed at the end of Cameron's mail, there was a pause where Cortana's waiting for me to either tap the screen or give a voice command. And so I'll do that to the next one.
A few hours ago.
Oh, and by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm swiping the screen, so the whole screen is also interactable. So again, I can seamlessly go between voice and touch.
Cameron White. A few hours ago, Nestor Wilkie sent an email about latest GDPR compliance updates just to you. This is a long one.
Oh, it's a long one.
It says, we need to
skip this.
A few hours ago, your manager Diego Siciliani sent an email about urgent review required, just to you. It says, Moses, we need you to take a look at these numbers before our upcoming V-Team meeting so that we can make a decision on the partnership with Trey Research. Please send me your feedback by end of day today. There was an attachment as well.
Flag this one.
I'll flag that for you.
So that was my manager. I don't know if you picked that up. It didn't say his name. It said your manager. And because it was urgent, I wanted to make sure that I could follow up when I got back to my desk. And I was able to quickly just say, flag it. And it flagged it. And that is a legit flag. So that mail will show up as flagged in all of your Outlook endpoints. So now we get to the threading example I mentioned. This is a really fascinating example of how we've taken, frankly, a complex email scenario and really distilled it into something that seamlessly kind of is presented in a logical sequence. And so Pradeep started the conversation. So that's the first mail in the conversation. And there are multiple replies. In fact, I can see just by glancing, there's 3 replies. And you'll also notice we changed the behavior a little bit. As we read a conversation, because it is a conversation, we don't pause in between as long. We kind of seamlessly get through the conversation. And later in the conversation, you'll hear when I'm mentioned. So in this case, I'm Moses. And Moses was mentioned in one of these replies. And so you'll see, you were mentioned. And so even Cortana knows I was mentioned by name in the conversation. So I'm going to let this run through.
There are 3 emails in a conversation about quarterly expenses. First, a few hours ago, Pradeep Gupta sent the first an email to 8 addresses. Here's what it says. Hi all. Let's make sure we're tracking all our expenses monthly for accurate forecasting. Can you get your updates in by the end of next week? Next, a few hours ago, Emily sent a short reply saying, sure. No problem. Finally, a few hours ago, Alex sent a short reply mentioning you, saying, I'll be traveling at that time so I will submit mine before I go. Moses, aren't you in the same boat? That's the whole conversation.
Reply to this.
Okay, what's your short reply?
Yes, I'll send mine tonight.
All right, you want to email Alex Wilbur, plus 7 others, saying yes, I'll send mine tonight. Ready to send it?
No. Now I get to switch. Oh.
You want to email Alex Wilbur, plus 7 others, saying yes, I'll send mine tonight. Ready to send it?
No.
Did you want to send it just to Alex Wilbur?
Yes.
Excellent, I've sent it.
And so that was a really kind of interesting conversation. I was mentioned, and I was able to even respond, but I was able to respond to just the last person.
A few hours ago, Patty Fernandez sent an email about Project Falcon launch update to one group that has a lot of visual content, so it's better read on a screen.
Flag it.
I'll flag it for follow-up. That's all I have right now.
Okay, and so Cortana will just hang out here as long as I keep in this experience. And if a new mail popped in, he or she would read out let me know and read out the mail. And if there was a change in my day, the same experience in the beginning. All right, to summarize, play my emails. It is natively built into the product. This is not a separate thing you have to go download or configure. It is compliant by default, so there's nothing else you have to do on the tenant. It is conversational design with a personalized neuro voices. You heard that. I hope you heard that it was a very synthetic, very smooth, conversational tone. Things like about a minute ago or an hour ago, about 5 minutes. You were mentioned, your manager. There's a lot of voice detail that is built into this that you have to use it over and over again. You'll pick up little nuggets of it and you're like, oh, that was interesting. That was not part of the mail. It's starting to roll out now. We announced it yesterday. It's starting to roll out, started rolling out yesterday. It is in test flight, and we are starting to progressively roll it out to all of users who have US-based English accounts. We are supporting Office 365 commercial accounts, Outlook.com accounts, and Gmail accounts. This is just the beginning. We have so many ideas. We have so many things in our backlog that we're working on right now that'll come in the next version. We're going to continue iterating on this. But we're here. Actually, how many people worked on this feature? OK, so we've got some experts, yes. We've got a bunch of people in. Please come tell us what you think. Tell us your ideas. What would you like to see? We are like sponges right now. There is nothing like this from any other product on the market. And so we're treading new ground here. And we'd love to hear your feedback. Speaking of coming talk to us, we are at the booth. Both the Outlook Mobile and the AI booth are neighbors. Back in the expo, we are right next to each other. And speaking of the booth, there is a contest. That is Play My Emails contest. You can actually win a pair of Surface earphones. I think we're giving away some every day. And you can also win a Precore bike. But you got to get a sweepstakes card. You have to get your badge scanned. Yep, Eugenie has it. And you have to get your badge scanned. And then come by to the booth, and hopefully you'll win. And there are all the sessions. That's Play My Emails. Come check it out. Let's get some time back in the day. Thank you.